All right, we're live, guys. So, how long have I got? I've got to take my son for football at 4:45, so I've got about half an hour. I hope everyone is well. Um, so we've been discussing Priscilla Presley. I've done a couple of videos. We've done one on keto and we've done one on long lost footage. I really want to defend properly, defend with fact. We can have opinions, we can discuss our opinions, all that kind of stuff. But if something is an opinion, it's an opinion. If something is a fact, let's prove it. Yeah. Doesn't matter who we're talking about. It doesn't just have to be Priscilla. It can be anyone. Yeah. To be credible, we have to come across like we've bothered to do some research. Right, Tony just said yes. So to be credible, sorry, that was Tony asking if we're live. We have to do credible things, yeah, and that is we back up what we say. Yeah, I don't want us to be known as a hate channel or a Priscilla hate channel. It's very important to me. Hi, Donnie Dorrit. So I've been outside cutting the tree, so I'm covered in dust. I'm a bit sweaty. Now this interview is very good channel. They are called, let me just click on it, Elvis the Ultimate Fan Channel. It was done around 4 years ago. I want to get into it because I've only got half an hour. Now, as far as I can tell, Steve, who runs this channel, had already done one interview, and then he's come back with a second interview because his subscribers, his members, his Elvis fans that join his channel have asked some very important questions. So they want to get back to Mike Stone and say to him, come on, what's the truth? Answer these questions. These are the serious questions we want you to answer. Now, I have strong views about Mike Stone. I'm not happy with how he treated his wife, Frances Stone. It's none of my business, but as a fan, I think what he did was wrong. Yeah, she was married. She was pregnant. They had a small girl. Now, everything I say is alleged for entertainment purposes only, just opinion, no facts. Yeah, this is a discussion program. We're called Defending Elvis because we're trying to clear Elvis's name of all the wrongdoing, all the lies that are said about him. I literally cannot believe how Priscilla treated Elvis, having a secret affair with Mike Stone, with somebody who's married, who has a pregnant wife, who has a daughter. Remember, Priscilla is also married and has a small child. How old? 3 or 4 years old. So they're both deeply in the wrong. Both of these people have done some serious damage with their action, just because the bottom line is they wanted to sleep together. That, it's a very blunt way of putting it, but they wanted a bonk. Yeah. So it's none of my business. It's none of my business, but as a defender of Elvis, I think we need to get to the truth. So what I'm going to try and do is
I had said
listen to Steve's interview on his channel. Please subscribe to him, Elvis the Ultimate Fan Channel. Thank you, Steve. This is a fantastic interview. Steve has a great channel and I love his interviews. Steve has done some fantastic interviews with many well-known people in Elvis's life. Yeah. So let's have a listen to Mike Stone. I want to keep it respectful. I don't hate Mike Stone, even though I disagree with their actions. I don't hate either of these people. I don't hate Priscilla. I don't hate Mike Stone. Let's try and understand what went on. One thing we have learned is that Priscilla chatted up Mike Stone. She went for Mike Stone. She wanted him. Yeah. And he has said this in his interviews. Yeah. Just an opinion for entertainment purposes. Let's keep going, guys.
as well as the media and the tabloids and just the fans maybe being misinformed through the media and through the gossip columns. Yeah, I'd like to clear up several issues.
Okay, well,
so he makes it clear. He wants to clear up several issues. And I think even Steve is saying, look, we've got some questions here from the subscribers. Here goes.
Would you like to start? Where would you like to begin?
Well, one of the things I wanted to clear up were statements that I had made, actually. I am concerned, obviously, what people think, but there were things that I said that after the first interview I had gone back to really check on the chronological order of which I was making some statements. And at that time, I was just talking without really having any chronology reference to the past about things I was explaining. So I felt bad about that because I think people did make some comments about, well, if it happened then, or he met her twice already, and how come he couldn't recognize her? And there were some issues like that. So I did have to stop and go back. It was confusing. I had seen her several times, but not actually met her. So I had cleared it up in my own mind, and by doing that, I actually cleared up a lot of other questions I had about the start of our relationship.
Okay. So is there anything in that springs to mind that you want to put straight?
Yeah. I think I had said in the first interview that I had physically bumped into Priscilla, or actually Priscilla bumped into me at a tournament of a friend of mine. I think the tournament, it was at Balsa Grande High School in Orange County. And that was, I had asked a friend of mine who actually was involved in producing that particular event, and that was on May 15th, 1971.
Okay.
So already I had not had a relationship with her, and that's the first time I actually had contact with her was at that event. And even at that event, I never actually talked to her. I was not introduced to her at that time, but that was in 1971.
So remember, guys, one thing I want the fans to know is that Priscilla chatted him up. That, to me, that's a big deal. She made the first move. I think they had briefly met before, but not as friends or anything. He wasn't friends with Elvis, but Elvis knew of him. He had met Elvis a couple of times, not as friends.
About the middle of the year. Then there was another time that I had, just for a few seconds, met her at backstage to an Elvis concert at the Hilton Hotel. And after that performance, we had gone backstage to meet Elvis, and I had just, again, briefly, we had just met and talked, and Priscilla was introduced, no handshake, nothing, just hi, and that's about it. And she turned and left the room, and Phil Spector, myself, and a couple other people were continued to talk to Elvis. So that was the second time.
So that gives you a good picture. Elvis was not friends with Mike Stone. He was aware of him. He respected him in the world of karate. Obviously, he was a big champion. Yeah. Someone told me he won 46 championships. I don't know if that's true. He was very famous in the world of karate. But he wasn't friends with Elvis. He even does say that he wasn't actually a proper instructor. But I do think he does go on to give Priscilla lessons, doesn't he? So, for whatever reason, I'll never understand it, he caught her eye. Someone said she may have seen him at their honeymoon, at some kind of tournament, yeah? But he caught her eye. She fancied him. And this is what this is all about. The bottom line is, this is one woman fancying another man. The mistake is, they're both married, they both have kids, and even worse, on Mike Stone's side of things, she was pregnant, which is just unthinkable. And that also he had a small girl. I think this may have been his second marriage. Now, the other thing is that Priscilla doesn't seem to have had any regard for the fact that that man was married. This really is beyond me, because she had even allegedly befriended Frances Stone. Frances Stone is Mike Stone's wife. They were going out together. They were having dinner together. She had even visited Mike Stone at his house with his wife. So this was a real marriage wrecker. This is proper, Yasmin, talk quiet. This is proper breaking up marriages. Yeah, this is serious stuff. Yeah, obviously this also had a massive devastating effect on Elvis's life, on Lisa, who was then forced to live with a complete stranger, taken away from her father to live with a stranger. For Lisa, it must have been heartbreaking.
Then I remember that at the international karate tournament, Elvis's karate instructor, Ed Parker, I believe it was now 1971. probably in August, because that's normally the month that the internationals is sponsored. So at that one, I made a comment that someone had introduced either Chuck Norris or a guy named Alan Steen when we were seated alongside the platform that the people were fighting on. And we had Priscilla and I both from about maybe 20 feet apart with people in between us, leaned forward to look when somebody said, Mike, I want you to meet Priscilla. So that was a meeting, an introduction. And then at the end of that evening, I talked about a guy named Dick Dale, a guy that had a rock group called the Deltones. Mm-hmm. And we had a conversation about his lions, because he had a facility that he could have them. And that we had talked for a few minutes there, and Priscilla just walked into our conversation and just started talking, and everybody was...
So guys, this is the bit that shows Priscilla liked him. She made the first move. See, I really want people to know this, yeah? Because I know Mike Stone gets a lot of grief, yeah? He gets a real hard time, a lot of hate, yeah? Now, Mike Stone made a massive mistake, probably the biggest mistake of his life, because he literally tore apart his own family. I think if it had been anyone else other than Priscilla, don't forget Priscilla is very famous, very wealthy, and the wife of Elvis. I think if it had been anyone else, I don't think Mike Stone would have left his wife. Yeah, I think there was a big ego thing here where he felt very flattered, couldn't believe that Elvis's wife, a very, very beautiful woman in 1971, yeah, liked him. Yeah, no offense, not the best looking man. He's okay. But compared to Elvis, there's no comparison. So Elvis, extremely good looking, sexy man. So my point I'm trying to make is that, I don't blame Mike. I don't blame Mike because temptation was just too much for him. Now, I do think what he did was disgusting. Yeah, I do think what he did was really wrong, really bad, unbelievable, unthinkable. And he has to look in the mirror and faced the consequences of his disgusting actions way back in 1971, which cost him his family. God knows how it cost him when it comes to his 2 children. Yeah, massive life-changing thing. He took a massive gamble. Can you shut that door, please? He took a massive gamble going with Priscilla. Don't forget, there's a possibility that Priscilla had promised him marriage. Yeah, I've read in an interview somewhere that Priscilla allegedly, just an opinion, had promised him marriage. Yeah, so he gave up everything with the hope that Priscilla may one day marry him. Yeah, we don't really know the truth. Everything I'm saying is just opinions, not fact. But one thing we do know, I think, is that she chatted him up. It was her that made the first move to get him. For some reason, she liked him at the cost of poor Lisa Marie and poor Elvis.
Kind of surprised that she just walked right in without really saying anything, and then started talking and making conversation. And then when she had left, she was quite some distance away when Jerry Schilling and Nora took her home. And she had stopped at the end of the entrance to the arena and yelled back to me, good night, Mr. Stone, something like that. So,
So when she stopped and looked back and said, good night, Mr. Stone, he knew she liked him. It sent a signal. Yeah. She had made up her mind. This is the man that's going to help me leave Elvis, that's going to give me the courage to leave Elvis. Did she choose a karate champion on purpose? Someone who was strong like Elvis was? Because don't forget, Elvis was a black belt in karate, a very strong, powerful man. Did she feel that he was going to help her? To me, it's pretty obvious that that Elvis's marriage to Priscilla was over. Yeah. Don't forget, he had already caught her being unfaithful with Steve Peck. Elvis also had been unfaithful. To me, they were both in the wrong. Priscilla and Elvis were both unhappy in a bad relationship. Yeah? Shut the door, please. Unhappy in a bad relationship. So they both had made serious mistakes in their marriage. And Mike Stone says him and Francis Stone were just not happy. They were in a bad place. Now, I think Mike Stone would have got through the bad patch of their marriage and stayed with his 2 children, his pregnant wife and obviously his daughter? I think it's very possible. I think if it had been anyone else, it's none of my business, but I think if it had been anyone else, Mike Stone would have stayed with his wife, because it was Priscilla, very, very, very famous, powerful, wealthy woman with Elvis, the wife of Elvis. I think Mike Stone couldn't resist the temptation and couldn't say no, and was very flattered, very flattered. Couldn't believe she liked him.
So we had talked then, so we had met. And there was now, when she had started to take karate lessons, this was maybe the very early part of 1972, when she was taking lessons at Chuck Norris's karate school in Sherman Oaks, California. And I had visited Chuck's school all the time with his working outs and the people. And in that particular evening's class, Priscilla was there to take the class. And then that's when we had actually gone out after the class to a Polynesian type bar restaurant and had a drink and had conversation. And that's when she had asked about my phone number and if I was teaching karate and where I was. And I said that I was in Orange County and it's quite a long way for her to drive. And she said she has to bring somebody because she's never driven on the freeway by herself before.
So this bit's interesting because it says, this bit's interesting, also possibility I've been sent a book. This bit's interesting because it says that she had to drive 50 minutes, 55 miles to see him. Bear in mind, she was going 2 or 3, even 4 times a week. And we have to also remember that the first time she took a friend to help her find her way. She wasn't used to driving on the highway on her own. So it's almost like she was preparing to become more independent so she could drive these long distances to go and see Mike Stone. She really wanted him, guys. In my opinion, for entertainment purposes, she really wanted Mike Stone. She was properly infatuated with him.
And so it was after that time that she did call, maybe a couple of weeks later, and I had talked with her a few minutes, and she had wanted to come down, and Nora, I think, drove with her the first time she visited my karate school. And then shortly after that, she started to take lessons. And after, I think Nora lived in Memphis. I think you said something about a guy named Fike.
Yes, Nora was actually Lamar Fike's wife. Yeah, one of Elvis's men. Yes.
So the time that I had met her when she was with Priscilla, she was obviously in Los Angeles. And then after coming several times with her and Joni or somebody bringing her, then she finally knew her way how to get there. And it's quite a long drive. It's about, I would say 55 miles from Huntington Beach, where I was, to Beverly Hills, where she lived. So it was quite a drive for her to make on her own. But she started attending classes, and on a very regular basis. When I say regular, I mean, 4 or 5 times a week. So that's the timeline I wanted to have corrected, because I felt bad that I was talking about the different things and they seemed confused because of the timeline. And The very first time that she had seen me compete was at the Hawaii event that Ed Parker sponsored, which was the Mainland versus Hawaii Team Championships in Hawaii, and Elvis and her had attended that event, but they had left a few minutes early because of the rush. They would have been swamped by people if they had stayed until the event was over, so they left a few minutes before.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 second, guys. Sorry, I was distracted then. I think he got his years mixed up. Couldn't have been early 1972. She left Elvis in December 71. So I actually, don't forget, they were seeing each other for a year secretly, yeah? I actually don't know the start and finish date of that year. It could have been the tail end of 1970, couldn't it? Does anyone know the actual date she was secretly seeing him for a year next to my bed? Sorry, kids in the background. Does anyone know the actual date? I'm not 100% sure, guys. All I've been told, they were seeing each other for a year in 1971 secretly, but I've also been told it could have started in 1970. So does anyone actually know?
And but I never met her or talked to her at the time. And that was even before these time periods I'm talking about.
Some fans accuse you of being a homewrecker, stealing another man's wife and leaving your wife and children to set up an apartment with Priscilla. Have you any answer to that?
Well, yes, of course, I have an answer. I don't know if the people want to hear it, but I can say what I truly believe happened and what took place.
So just so you know, guys, the excuse that he gives for leaving his wife is, I find this, what he's about to say now, ridiculous. Honestly, a load of BS. Yeah. I would much have respected him more if he just owned it and said, you know, I messed up. Yeah. I should have known better. I made a mistake. I betrayed my wife. I betrayed my kids. I helped break up Elvis's marriage. Yeah. Instead, he just makes a load of excuses. And this is where I lose all respect. Yeah. For Mike Stone. I don't dislike him. I don't hate him. But because of his actions concerning Francis Stone and his pregnant wife and his kids and the damage he did he was part of, obviously I feel the same way about Priscilla. What Priscilla did, and because she made the first moves, is disgusting. This decision to go off with Mike Stone is disgusting. There is more to the story. We can't whitewash Elvis. They were in an unhappy marriage. Elvis was being unfaithful. Who knows what was going on behind the scenes? Yeah. So from Priscilla's point of view, she had a tough time through the 60s because Elvis was seeing other people as well. Possibly she was as well. We don't know, do we? So I won't make Priscilla to be completely in the wrong concerning her being in an unhappy marriage, because if Elvis was being unfaithful in the early 60s, you know, at people like Anne Margaret, of course that's going to make her unhappy. Of course that's going to break her heart. So they were in an unhappy marriage. I truly believe Elvis was not ready to get married. I truly believe Elvis should not have got married. Yeah. And I don't think Elvis wanted to get married. I think he was pressured into it. Yeah. I also believe that Priscilla was not ready to have a child. Honestly, guys, Priscilla was not ready to be a mum. No way at all. I think she also still fancied other men. In the same way as Elvis fancied other women, Priscilla still fancied other men. They should never have married. That was the mistake. The mistake was that the marriage between Elvis and Priscilla was wrong. Should never have happened, in my opinion. Now, this Mike Stone situation with Priscilla is different. That's different. This goes into a new league because now we have two adults who have children who are married, making a decision to break up the two families to go against their own children. Because let's face it, when you're unfaithful to your own children as well. So when she ran off with Mike Stone, secretly seen him for a year, and then demanded a divorce. Remember, once the relationship was found out, Priscilla demanded a divorce. She told Mike Stone, I'm having a divorce. She told Mike Stone, I intend to divorce. She told him. Let's keep going.
I don't know who some Elvis fans are, because that's what you just said, some Elvis fans, and I don't know who they are that you said accuse me of being a homewrecker. So I have to.
So, you know, Saifu just said something, can't steal another man's wife. 100% Priscilla, what she did was disgusting. Yeah, she did steal another man's wife. That happened.
I have to take that basic idea, like who are these people accusing me of wrecking someone's home, and the idea of me stealing another man's wife. Well, anybody with any common sense, if it's, well, they call it common, but apparently it's not so common to have some wisdom. But you cannot steal another person. I cannot steal anybody's wife.
Well, I don't agree with that. I think if you are stunningly beautiful, very wealthy, very successful, very famous, you can take someone's partner. You can take someone's, whether it be wife or husband. Yeah. Priscilla had the power at her fingertips with her beauty, with her sexiness. She had a lovely body, the wife of Elvis. She stole Mike Stone. She stole him. Typical man, fell for it. Typical weak man, no offense to the men out there, fell for the good looks, the sexy body, and his ego. Elvis Presley's wife wants me. She was taken. Now, he was part of that process, of course. She didn't force him. He was lured and tempted. Temptation and money, because she was very wealthy, got him. Trapped him. Well, not trapped. Hooked him. Just an opinion for entertainment purposes, guys.
Or Priscilla, if you want to turn it around, did not steal me from my family. So I don't think that's possible. I think people are at a particular time in their lives, both Priscilla and I was at that time, that my married life wasn't going well at all, even before I even met her, because my whole life I've been a very motivated person, wanting to excel, succeed in business, and that's what I started doing with doing the karate schools. And so that took about a 12-hour time from 10 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night to do most of the teaching. That's when we actually finished. And then I was attending weekends all the time, different tournaments that either I was sponsoring or I would attend events other friends of mine were sponsoring, so that it was like you scratch my back, I scratch yours. So I was sponsoring quite a few activities. And of course, many people came to support me. So whenever they sponsored something, I would actually have to go to support them. And that took nearly every weekend during the course of a year. I mean, there's 52 weekends a year. I would say at least 40 of a year is taken up going to different events or sponsoring my own. So
he's just waffling about now. He's just obviously how successful he was, how great he was doing. He was a very successful champion. He was. I'll give him that. Yeah. I agree with Emma. Emma said, well, let me just find Emma's comment. The whole thing is just horrific, isn't it? The whole thing is like, oh my God, you couldn't make it up. It couldn't be any worse. It couldn't be any worse. The whole thing is just disgusting. All of it. In so many ways. Yeah. I do agree with Saifu that Mike didn't intend to take Elvis's wife. That wasn't his plan. Mike wasn't out to get Priscilla. It was the other way around, 100%, in my opinion. Priscilla wanted Mike. Mike couldn't resist. Yeah. Honestly, guys, Mike couldn't resist. Priscilla it was a game plan. I'm going to get him. I think at first Priscilla was very keen. I don't think Priscilla ever intended to marry Mike Stone. I think I've always thought secretly Mike Stone really regrets what he did. He would never say that. We know Mike's into spirituality. He's into all the sort of what's it called? Like have you ever heard The Secret, the law of attraction, all that kind of stuff? Yeah. I know about the law of attraction and The Secret and spirituality, all that kind of stuff. He makes excuses for his behavior, but deep down in his heart, he knows he did wrong. He knows he did wrong. He did do a half-hearted apology on Stefan's show, Artist on Record. There's a show called Artist on Record on YouTube. Stefan is the host. He interviewed Mike Stone recently, and he did sort of apologize what he did to his wife and kids. He did. It was a bit half-hearted, but he did do it. I think deep down Mike Stone does regret his behaviour, but he's too proud to admit it. It's a bit like Dave Hebler off the book Elvis, What Happened? Yeah? You know, I've always thought Red West, Sonny West regretted what they did. Yeah? Sonny West sort of did say he regretted his behaviour. Dave Hebler won't. He won't. He's too proud. These strong, powerful men, Dave Hebler was a strong, powerful man that make these massive mistakes against their friend Elvis. They're too proud to admit they're wrong, so they make excuses. They blame people. Like Dave will say, it was we tried to help him get off drugs. It's bullshit. He'll blame the publisher. He'll blame Steve Dunleavy. You know, these people make excuses because they're very proud. Mike Stone is very proud. Yeah. So Mike Stone, you were took advantage of. You were used. Yeah. I don't hate you, Mike Stone. I actually feel that you were a bit of a victim. I actually think you were very much taken advantage of. So when are we going? No. All right, guys. Anyway, guys, I have to go. I'm taking my son to work or to football. I just want to say this is only part 1, and we're going to come back and we're going to do part 2. I personally, before I go, guys, I personally blame Priscilla. I blame Priscilla for all of this. But we won't whitewash Elvis. They were in an unhappy marriage. Elvis was unfaithful. There were many things in their marriage that were not working. They should never have got married. Priscilla should never have been a mum because she wasn't ready to have a baby. She wasn't ready to settle down. Yeah. So from a very bad marriage between Elvis and Priscilla, there is damage. Both of them are in the wrong. Priscilla and Elvis both were wrong. They both were unfaithful. They both made mistakes. Yeah, we have to be fair. If we're going to defend Elvis, Elvis would want us to be fair and honest and try to be impartial. He would also want us to defend with respect. Yeah, no hate. There is no hate here in what I'm doing. I don't hate Priscilla. I don't hate Mike. Obviously, I love Elvis, so I defend Elvis. But these are human beings. We must treat them as human beings. Yeah? Okay, guys. Gotta go. All the best to you. Love you all. And I'll be back for hopefully I'll come back and do part 2. Okay, guys. See you later. Thanks for joining me. Thank you very much to everyone that is part of Team Elvis. Team Elvis.